Hello, it's Blue Orange 22. Today I want to talk about this article here. I put a link down in the description below. I think this story is a good illustration of what MRAs mean when we say men are being kind of disadvantaged and kind of put down in society. Um, right now, it's like we're in a time where when you hear men or you hear male or you hear boy, you kind of get like a negative connotation with that. And everything you read in the media about toxic masculinity and patriarchy and all that kind of stuff, I think it's having a psychological effect on how people view men. And I think this article is kind of an example of how and why. Um, Take a look at what's going on. They have decided to, in New York, a homeless shelter for men has been replaced by a homeless shelter for women after people protested. And it even says in the headline, you can see it says activists protested and had a men's shelter replaced with a women's shelter. I'm going to break this article down. I've got it here. I'm going to read it to you and kind of think about what this means. Like, what's kind of the implication here of what's going on? The city has agreed to see the headline: "Women, not men, to live at College Point Homeless Shelter," and then the first paragraph: "The city has agreed to place only women, not single men, as first planned, at the 200-bed homeless shelter." Next paragraph: "Area leaders who fought to get the plan stopped declared a partial victory." So, shutting down a men's shelter is a partial victory. Like, it's a good thing that they stopped a men's shelter from being opened, and now it's a women's shelter instead. Okay, so think about that. Concerns had been expressed about placing single men, some of whom may have been formerly incarcerated, near 5 neighborhood schools with young children. Okay, so they were scared. It was a safety thing about putting single men in an area near schools. Now, what does that kind of imply? That men are bad. Men are the bad, scary, dangerous gender. We don't want, have men around our schools, around our children. Think about that for a second. Like, think about what that is. It's not a shelter for formerly incarcerated homeless men. That was just saying how some of them may be. Well, yeah, some of them maybe not. But this is not about that. This is about the fact that it was a men's homeless shelter. It was the men part that people didn't like. Because if you have a shelter for women, some of those women may have been formerly incarcerated too. So obviously, that whole argument's really just about the fact that it's men in the shelter. It goes on to say in the next paragraph: "The community has remained diligent, vigilant, and united, and now has successfully secured the conversion of a shelter for women rather than single men," said State Senator John Liu. So think about what this is: successfully secured the conversion to a shelter for women rather than single men, as if that's better, as if having a shelter for men is a bad thing. And that's a state senator, that's a politician saying that. Why is it that having a shelter for men is seen as a bad thing? Think about that for a second. I mean, I understand when they're saying, oh, it's about the safety concerns, but when it's replaced with a shelter for women, that's seen as a victory. So having a homeless shelter for men is bad, but having a homeless shelter for women is good. Think about like the difference there, and think about when it comes to gender stereotypes and gender roles. That's very much enforcing a gender stereotype. That's very much enforcing the stereotype that, oh, well, men, they don't need help. Um, Men aren't vulnerable. Men are supposed to be tough and just deal with it. I thought the same people who talk about trying to break down toxic masculinity and harmful gender stereotypes are the same ones who do this. This is enforcing a gender stereotype. This is enforcing the stereotype that, oh, men don't need homeless shelters, and a homeless shelter for men is a bad thing, but women do need homeless shelters, and a homeless shelter for women is good. I mean, just think about the difference there. Kind of think about the implication. What is that saying about how men are viewed if a homeless shelter for men is seen as a bad and a scary thing? Read the article. and let me know what you think.